Hey folks, it's Jeremy, the host of Blammo. Thanks so much for listening. This is a preview of one of our exclusive shows on Patreon. These are member-supported shows, meaning they only happen because of our incredible members and community. So check out a preview of the episode, and if you like it, consider joining us on Patreon at patreon.com/Blammo, where we have tons of exclusive Blammo episodes, shows, our amazing Slack group, and we're adding new things for members all the time. If not, no worries, we still love you, and we literally have hundreds of episodes of Blammo all free for you to dive into. Thanks so much.
Hey, Derek.
Hey, Peter.
How you doing?
Doing pretty well. How about you?
Good, good. The jacket that you're wearing is a Lee J100?
Yeah, a Lee 100J. It's basically, for a guy that buys a lot of clothes, this is basically the only jacket I wear all the time. So I bought it from Wooden Sleepers a couple of years ago. I don't know. Brian had listed it on his, I think he had listed it on his Instagram or something. I messaged him about it. So as people know, Brian runs this wonderful vintage shop called Wooden Sleepers. I've known him for 15 years now, and he used to run a shop on Etsy, and he was part of this kind of like menswear group of guys on Tumblr, and I met him through that because he was posting all of this like LL Bean, like the vintage scene's weird because a large section of it at the time anyway was posting like real kind of expensive grail items, and there were some people posting LL Bean, but it wasn't as big as it is now. And Brian was one of these guys promoting like real kind of like old American heritage brands. And he eventually grew it into an actual brick and mortar store. He was located in New York City somewhere for a while, I think in Brooklyn or something like that.
Yeah.
And then now he's in Tuckahoe. The thing about his store is that you can go to his website. He has a website and you can browse and you can shop through the website like you would with a normal store. But I think the best way to shop is to follow him on Instagram. And if you see something through a photo, you see like a barn coat or you see fatigues, you just DM him and say, do you have measurements for that? And what is the price?
Is that how you found that jacket?
Yeah. I just basically said, what are the measurements? What's the price? And then I bought it from him.
Did he date it? Did he give you a year?
No.
He just said,
here's an old Lee jacket that I found, and he repaired it. He put in.
Oh, he did.
The collar was ripped, and he hand sewed it with Oxford cloth, and I kind of like that little detail.
Yeah.
And it's really like, I think I bought it for $150, which is more than what you'd pay certainly more than what you pay if you went to like Goodwill, but it's also more than what you pay if you just went to eBay. But to me, the difference is that Brian found, in my opinion, the perfect, there are gazillions of Lee jackets out there.
And the sizing was all over the place.
Sizing's all over the place. And like, he found the one that I would love. And I'm fine with paying one, because I consume so much of his internet content that I enjoy. So I don't mind paying an extra $75, right? Like I think on eBay at the time you could get him for $75 and he was charging $150. But also like he found the one that had the exact right fades, the exact right rips, like everything about it. And it is, it's like out of all the garments that I own, all the outerwear, like this is the one that I wear the most easily.
It's classic. It's got heritage. And so many other designers have riffed off of the 100J that it's just often better to get the original.
That's how I feel about it. I think I think if you're into menswear, there comes a point where you quickly realize, once you learn all of these stories of, like someone, for example, DM'd me recently and said, I really like the cargo pants in this photo. Do you know where they're from? And I said, I don't know who made those specific ones, but those are essentially either the real deal or they're riff off the M43 military U.S. Army cargo pants, HBT cargo pants. And so once you learn all of these like prototypes, these archetypes, you can go when you look at like a Visvim lookbook or you look at any lookbook, you can say like, oh, that's
an officer's pant.
That's an officer's pant. That's an American short coat. That's a French short coat. That is the British cold weather parka. Like you can identify. Sometimes they're either actual repros or they played with the silhouette a little bit. When like 10, 15 years ago, what was really popular was people would do these archetypical garments and they would just slim them down because a lot of the guys did not want to wear something that was like massive.
Yeah.
Which is true even today because many of those old garments were not meant to be worn
By
over
civilians.
Not just worn by a civilian, but they weren't meant to be worn over just like your sweater and, pants. They're meant to be worn over other uniforms.
Yeah.
Right? So like a man would have a t-shirt, a button-up shirt, a jacket, and then some other garment that he would lay over. This was like a work garment.
Yeah.
It was not like a fashion item. Right. It was a utilitarian item. So sometimes you'll find these designer items that will play with the silhouette a little bit, whether they slim it down or they play with the proportions or they do it in a different fabric. And sometimes they're just like, sometimes you see certain garments and it's like, that designer is, what they're essentially doing is saying, I will provide you with a brand new item that's not yucky if you're turned off by vintage, used items.
It's not used.
It's not used. It's a brand new item and it's standard sizing. Like if you try on the 32, you don't like it, you can move up to a 34 and you'll know the sizing, right? Like you try on something, like size up or down. You don't have to hunt for it. There's a return policy. They've smoothed it out for you.
Yeah.
But if in doing so, it also means that I don't think they're ripping you off, but by virtue of them doing a very small run of that item, it ends up being like thousands of dollars.
Especially if it's a company. I mean, Ralph Lauren, they have different tiers, but if it's their Polo Ralph Lauren line, then it's relatively affordable. It's still expensive, but it's relatively affordable. But if they do double RL, where it's such a small size run, or if it's a smaller company that doesn't have the bank to put that much into a gargantuan size run with so many units, then for them, their cost is going to be significantly more, and thus the garment is going to be more.
Right. There are a lot of garments. When I go through like Instagram and I see lookbooks, like to me, it's like, that's just vintage Levi's.
Yeah.
Right. And there is definitely a cost to, there's this old rubric of good, fast, and cheap, and you can only have two, right? And so if you want something good and fast, you're going to have to pay a lot for it. And if you want something good and cheap, you're going to have to thrift. You're going to have to spend a lot of time.
Right.
And if you don't care about quality, then certainly you can get something for both fast and cheap, but you can't have all three. You have to choose two.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for clothing, but it also brings to mind that if you are dismayed, as I often am, when you look out in the marketplace and you're just thinking like, man, like people are charging a lot of money for clothes, And sometimes like even I look at these prices and I'm just thinking like, I would feel really bad for someone who's just starting to build a wardrobe because the prices are nuts.
Yeah. I mean, there is a limit, I should say. Like if I see Polo Ralph Lauren or if I see Todd Snyder or Buck Mason do something based off of a vintage style, I think, okay, well, that's expensive, but it's relatively affordable. And I like that they chose a suede as opposed to the cotton sateen. Or I like that they took the time to find the same cotton sateen that they used on the Lee 101 so many decades ago. I appreciate that. But if I see someone like Visvim do the same jacket for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and then it's distressed to make it look vintage, which I do not denigrate the efforts that they put into all of the hand distressing, because that does take time. But I'm like, oh, come on. Seriously?
Yeah, I feel the same way about Vism, and I think I've mentioned to you, my gripes are only because I'm broke. If I was a billionaire, I admit I would be buying a lot of Vism.
Yeah, if you're John Mayer and you don't have time
I
to
love
shop.
the look of the line.
Yeah.
I love the story. I love the production techniques. As someone who has the finances that I do, when I look at the item, I'm like, that is a lot of money. And then I go search for the vintage version. But if I was a billionaire and if money were no object, I would just go shop at Vism.
Have my assistant say, buy me 3 of those.
Yeah, I would. I mean, a large portion of my wardrobe would be Vism. But it also gets into another thing, is that I do think it's true that all things equal, there are certain times where vintage, I think, is not just the affordable alternative. Sometimes I think it's actually better.
Oh, yeah.
To give you an example, I think the best French chore coats are vintage because the new ones are just too new.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
there
saying?
are certain things like a chore coat, like a Lee 101J, like any
If you're a desk jockey like I am, you know what I'm saying? That chore coat is never going to develop.
Never going to break
patina.
in. It's never going to have those kind of wear.
Nothing's happening.
It's going to look
there.
new for decades.
It's going to look new for decades.
You're going to be buried in it with the price tag still on.
Yeah. So for certain items like a chore coat, I think just go to eBay. There's a company called Buttersworth. I think it's Buttersworth Vintage. We'll put a link in the show notes. They're a vintage store in the UK, but they have a store on Etsy. They have a really nice selection of chore coats. I'm sure Brian at Wooden Sleepers has good chore coats. But the thing about chore coats is that they don't have to fit perfectly.
Yeah.
And they actually look better if they don't.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want the seam to be exactly on your shoulder. You don't need the sleeve to hit, like, to show a 1/4 inch of shirt cuff.
Well, that's a different mentality altogether. It's supposed to be outerwear. It's supposed to be workwear. It's supposed to be used that you can put things underneath it, layer if you have to, if you do yard work. If you're raking leaves on a November morning, then you're going to need it to be a little big.
So since it doesn't have to fit perfectly, you can go vintage. And the advantage of vintage is that you automatically get those vintage details. It's always like, whatever the garment is, you could get cat-eye buttons, you can get, certain kind of fabrics, but also you get the patina that someone else put into it. And, it amazes me that we've been able to put a man on the moon, but we still have not been able to figure out how to distress garments that look exactly like it never looks exactly. It can get pretty close.
But it always,
it's never exact. Yeah. And that's the thing about the vintage version is when you get it exact, it looks really good. When you look at those vintage Levi's, the fades, when it's the authentic, real deal fade that came through years of wear, it looks way better than pre-distressed.
Yeah, I'll usually wear my work jeans for a good 2-3 solid years. That's really as long as they last on the job site, because then they start to really get distressed. I'll wear them for a good year, maybe 2, maybe 3, and then I'll retire them from the job, get a new pair to beat up, and then use that pair of jeans to wear out with a sport coat or whatever.
Yeah.
You get those distress. Not that I recommend that you become an electrician so that you can distress your clothes. That's certainly a great excuse to do that. Feel free. That's why I became an electrician.
For the fades.
For the Jones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. But what is your philosophy, though, when you do go vintage shopping?
So I have a few kind of governing philosophies or, kind of things that I think is worth keeping in mind if you do thrifting or you shop vintage. One is that, and some of these dovetail with my general view of clothes. And one of them is don't buy purely based on price. Sometimes you see something that's really cheap, and I think it's good to keep in mind, or you think it's a really good deal, and I think it's good to keep in mind, are you attracted to the item or are you attracted to the price?
Right.
Because if it's not something that fits or it doesn't actually look good on you or it doesn't work with your wardrobe, even if it's super cheap, it ends up being money that's like wasted.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's really worthwhile, especially when you're thrifting, because you'll come across a lot of deals. You'll come across an overcoat that is like $30 or $50, and that the ones that the guys on Instagram are promoting are $1,500, and that many overcoats are $500. But if that like $50 overcoat looks like crap on you, then it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Is that ask yourself, am I attracted to the price or am I attracted to the item?
Certainly, if you're attracted to the item and the price is low, well, then don't sleep on it.
Yes.
But if you're attracted to it solely because of the price and you're on the fence, then I would.
John's comes and goes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't get too hung up on the price. The other thing is, I used to do this more when I was really just starting to build my wardrobe, but I did find it useful to every season, like, have some kind of shopping list in mind. Like, I am shopping for an overcoat this season.
Oh, you do make a shopping list?
Well, I don't anymore. But
mentally shopping.
Yeah, like when I was first building a wardrobe, I would prioritize certain things.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I really need a pair of like gray flannel trousers, or I really need a navy sport coat. I really need an overcoat, whatever it is. And I would have in mind things that I'm shopping for. And I would go thrifting for those things, but I also wouldn't get too hung up on the shopping list. And this brings me to what I think.
So have a shopping list, but don't be tied to it.
Don't be tied to it.
Gotcha.
But have in mind of like what you're looking for. But this gets into the other, I think the biggest kind of governing philosophy I have with thrifting is that you really have to love the process, depending on the deals that you want to get.
Yeah.
Because there are tiers to thrifting, right? Like on the on the really far end, there are guys that are going to like some deserted Midwestern town and like digging through a rack, some barn and like finding.
Yeah.
You're probably not doing that. So like the options available to you are probably stretching from like Goodwill to...
Want to hear the rest? Listen to the full episode and many more other exclusive episodes over on our Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Blamo to sign up and join the Blam fam. You also get access to our exclusive members-only Slack group where we chat about this and a ton of other things. So head over to patreon.com/Blamo and we'll see you there.